What are you doing?
Oh my god.
I don't even know what's going on.
Don't forget our gift cards at RitaYanez.com, and so am I. Under your bed.
Turn on the light! Turn on the light!
Hi there, Pisces. This is your weekly reading for the week of November 30th. I hope your holidays are off to a good start. It's December already. Can you believe that? I can't. I think that for me, November just totally flew by, but the months have just been going by faster and faster each time. I wanted to let you know that we're coming off of the Uranus-Pluto square, which was within about a degree of being exact, which of course is disruptive energy. And if you know your natal chart, you'd be able to figure out where Uranus is placed and where Pluto is placed in your chart. With that said, you'd need to know your birth time to figure that out, but you don't have to pay anybody to do it, because if you have your birth time, you can find any number of free natal chart calculators on the internet. There's one on my site. It's not my favorite. It was just the code that I grabbed to put that up there for you. Also, we have just had this Sunday the Sun in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. In solar astrology, this would be your first house, and Sagittarius being your 10th house. There's some very outwardly obvious changes going on in your life, and especially so for you young people. Sun in Sagittarius conjunct Saturn in Sagittarius as well is right there at the top of your chart, lighting the way like a glaring beam of light, saying that there are adjustments here that need to be made. And of course, since you're younger, they're not going to be as difficult as they will be for, admittedly, for Pisces natives, in that their issues are a lot bigger, more complex. So be glad that you're not an adult right now, because an adult Pisces probably wouldn't like this energy much at all. And the reason why it's important for everybody to note, especially so for the adults, is that we're setting up the trends that are going to take us into the next several years. So of course, right now there's going to be decision-making time that for the adults is going to be much more complex, because it could involve things like divorce, changing family structures. With you guys, it's not going to be that complicated, obviously, because most of you are not married, of course. And I tell people you have no reason to marry until, girls, I say even in your 30s, that's a good time to get married. Guys, you could even take it all the way into your 40s, and then in my opinion, people don't need to be thinking about having children until they're in their 30s anyway. I had my first at 26, and now I look back and realize I would have been so much better off, I should say, if I would have had kids beginning in my mid-30s and even on into the future, which when you're young, it sounds like these are really old ages, but they're not. Now, most people aren't even deciding whether or not they'll have children into their 30s, and most of the time that's really important, because then people have got their degrees in advanced education out of the way. They're working, they've decided what works for them and what doesn't. They've bought a house, they've got cars, they've got everything they need, so then mom or dad can stay home, or both. Sometimes people work out of their home. So remember, the way that you set up your life is really about making it easier for you to do everything you want in your life when you're an adult, and raising a family and sending kids to college, and all of these things that seem so very far away right now, they really aren't that far away. So enjoy your time as a young adult, because trust me, you don't want to be an adult right now during this astrological weather. Monday, the card that you've drawn here is the Empress in reverse. So this is probably the way that you're projecting your disappointment with a mother figure. So with you guys, it's actually going to be somebody who's like a mother figure. This could be the stepmother. This can be your biological mother. This can be your adoptive parents, your foster family. And something about them is being almost self-indulgent or self-centered, egocentric, where they're only considering what they want for themselves and not what they want, which is what would be more fair for everyone involved. So I don't blame you. You know, with the adults, the problem with this card is that they're the ones being self-indulgent. Most of the time it's going to be what's happening to them or one of their children, where they don't really care about the children's feelings. They're just doing what they do. So be glad that that's the way that this is coming across, because I know for sure that this isn't you. On Tuesday, the card that you've drawn is a Nine of Cups in reverse, and this is a card that carries with it, like you've heard me say, the catch-22 problem, where you get something you want and you realize, boy, this isn't what I thought it'd be, or you realize now with you guys it's going to be a more recent period of time. The adults, you're going to notice that they're looking back to whatever happened in 2007 and before that, 1997, where they're looking at different trajectories that they didn't really pay attention to what was going on, or they didn't really know fully the ramifications of their commitments or their divorces or their marriages, etc. So for you guys, it's going to be more of the energy of saying, wow, I maybe think I know what I want to do, or maybe you're in the middle of a custody situation and they're letting you decide where you want to live, which is fair. And then you make one decision and then you realize that that's the one parent who won't let you flow back and forth between the houses. And I feel terrible about that, because my parents divorced many, many years ago. I was only 11 years old before I turned 12. This was happening. And yet my parents, with our culture, it's more traditional that the kids stay with mom anyway, but then dad stays very close. So my dad was always literally down the street, just a few houses away from us. Always. The longest period of time that my parents went being separated from each other was when I moved to Corona in 1994. Then I helped my dad move out in 1996, and then my mom came out in 1997. So maybe about a year there or so before they actually, it was a little bit over a year before they actually were together there. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't very long. And that's the way we do it. We're supposed to be able to parent in a way that's very seamless, but you know how the world is, that sometimes one person is trying to make it easy and the other person just wants to be the punisher. And it seems to me that you could make a decision where you thought that you'd be better off, for example, living with your dad or something, and then you realize now your dad is controlling everything and you were just a pawn. So think about it. Just try to maybe not be so one-sided and just kind of flow between the two of them. If one of the parents isn't going to let you, you'd probably be safer with the parent that is more lenient with you visiting your family. Now on Tuesday, we've got Mercury and Sagittarius trining Uranus and Aries, which is your solar second house of income. For you guys, it's going to be a little different because it's around the holiday season. So maybe you're trying to pick up some babysitting jobs, some extra credit jobs. You know, maybe it's about not the tangible resources, but it's about the credits for school to make up, or even be able to graduate with extra credits for college courses, that kind of thing. Mercury and Sagittarius squares Chiron and Pisces, again, your first solar house versus your solar 10th house. And so there's kind of a dichotomy here. It could be that you're pulled in one direction wanting to do for yourself. Maybe you're old enough to be graduating this year and going to college here in the next school year, and yet at the same time you feel like you're not sure if you're being selfish because you may have one parent or somebody very outspoken. It could be a relationship too, or a really good friendship where you guys thought you were going to stay at the local college, and then both of you now have diverging interests, and it makes for a little bit of discomfort, but do whatever you need to do because you do need to take care of yourself first. Of course, when it comes to situations like school, education, and living arrangements, it's far more complicated than just saying, oh, well, I'm changing my mind today and every fifth Thursday. So also Mercury and Sagittarius sextiling Apollo and Libra, your solar 8th house, is telling you that somewhere here you've got to take it up upon yourself to make the decisions. Maybe like if you say, let me just use the father thing again, that your dad's like, yeah, and you're not moving back with your mom. And you're like, okay, wait a second. I know you're not allowed to do that. I can choose where I want to go. You may have to actually take up the leader reins, be the leader, stand up for yourself to say, hey, look, my mom let me come live with you if that's what I wanted. Now I want to go back. And if you can't do that, that's fine. I want my mom. You know, so there could be a situation like that that needs to just be basically like showing your muscle that they've got to honor being fair to you, like you honor being loyal to them. But if one of them is pulling you in one direction or another, or any other family member, you know, you may have to speak up and say something. And if you don't speak up now, when? Sun and Sagittarius, sex house, Aries, and Aquarius, which again is another power struggle, has to do with your 12th house. So it is something about the past, the area of self-undoing that we call it, areas of confinement. So again, if you feel like you're trapped and you're not allowed to communicate with the other parent, if you really are in a divorce situation, which could be the same energy coming through, you can always talk to a counselor or somebody at school and say, hey, look, I need to talk to somebody because I am not allowed to communicate with my other parent. And then the reason why that is worth getting help on is that a parent is not, unless the court has ordered no contact, a parent is not allowed to say you cannot talk to the other parent. When my kids went through this and their dad would take phones away and not let them talk to me when they were visiting, even though he didn't get slapped around as hard as I would have liked him to, it did, reconcile itself in the end that he got checked by his own devices. So we can't always assume that our parents are doing the right thing. I got really lucky with my parents in that they were, and as dysfunctional and crazy as our Cuban family could have been, this was always the kind of thing that with all of our extended family members, nobody really argued this way. People used to think that it was weird that me and my first husband could go out to dinner with me and my second husband when they used to be best friends. And so even though that is kind of weird now that I think back at it, I was just trying to make everybody happy and trying to be there and trying to create kind of like the tribe setting for everybody raising the kids together. And you know what? Even though at that time I had my puppet second husband, going along with it, he got very bitter with me when we were divorcing, and it was really sad because he made it just worse for himself and his relationship with his kids. But you see, even with these kind of harsh energies here in December where the adults have more of the problems, you're just kind of more of the casualty. Remember to speak up and speak out about yourself. And I had to do this with my dad once. He used to say these terrible things about my mother's family. And then I was about 15 years old and I was on the phone and I said, Dad, if you don't stop talking about my mom and her family, I will never talk to you again. And I mean, I really had to get my dad's attention, and then he did stop and he never did it again. And, that's what kind of like, there's always going to be somebody stupid in the basket of the bunch of apples, and somebody's going to have to talk crap about somebody's ex or husband or father, whatever. But you got to make sure that they respect you just the same and not talk about the other parent, disparaging them in any way. That's usually what the rules are in court that are set out, that although not everybody's born a rocket scientist, it should be easy to understand. Also, we have on Wednesday the Temperance card. So it makes me feel that you're actually trying to put in some extra effort to get people to get along. Remember, though, that we can't really make people do what they don't want to do inherently or naturally, organically. And even when you talk, you may not even be getting the respect that you deserve in terms of what you feel should be happening here. And so, I try to tell people the first and ultimate way to get your freedom is when you're 18 years old. Get your butt into college. Do not leave until you finish your degrees. Whatever you choose to do, if you change your major 15 times, whatever, that's where you're supposed to stay. Go waitress, do whatever you need to do. Bellhop to, I can't believe I used such a very old term. I just totally gave away my generation. But anyway, whatever it is that you can do that is respectful and decent, flipping burgers, never killed anybody, sorting parts at a parts store, didn't kill anybody either, but it did get them through college. So do whatever you need to do because you won't be able to change people's minds, but you can change your destiny. Mercury and Sagittarius opposing Psyche and Gemini, which is your solar fourth house of home and family, tells us that there is some transformation or change that's going to come about in this family structure anyway. And regardless of what the changes are, whether it's divorce, your children leave, maybe your children, if you were an adult, could be your Piscean children that move away, or even for adults it could be any number of children that walk away from them and kind of discard that relationship. And then there is a much more complex lesson in the adult Pisces lives. But for you guys, you could actually be those people making those changes and saying, you know what, I love you, mom or dad or whatever, but I can't be a part of this dysfunction. And you'll see how you can transform this. And with Venus and Mars in Virgo trying to help heal these rifts between the people that are precious to in the seventh house, which for you guys, it really is more about your relationships with your parents and family in that seventh because you're too young to be married. So, there's some hope that it's going to straighten out. Thursday, we got the Page of Pentacles in reverse, and this could be you or any other child, not necessarily the earth signs of Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, but maybe better represented because if you're a child and your parents are divorced, somebody's paying child support. And it could be that your parents are together, but you have half siblings that aren't with both the parents, or there's some difference there. It could represent kind of the association of having to pay child support on a kid until they're out of college, which is typically how it works, right? We have kids, they go to high school, child support is paid until they graduate. Then if they go back into school and stay put, then of course other benefits continue. And that could be the topic of the conversation. But on a personal level, in your personal life here, this could indicate that something that you were hoping to go a certain way didn't go that way or doesn't come to fruition the way you expected. That's okay, because Mercury in Sagittarius is semi-sextiling Bacchus in Capricorn, which would be your 11th house of friends and networking and social groups of people, and maybe even the new people that you're meeting just now, trying to kind of create the tribe or see how you fall into the pattern of the village of friends. Okay, so there is a tendency to want to escape from this, and that's what Bacchus is doing. But remember not to get involved in alcohol or drugs or anything else that could compromise your freedom and get you landed right there into the clink with the door locked and the jailer walking away scratching his butt. Mercury in Sagittarius trining Minerva and Leo talks about wisdom that's inherent in your daily experiences. Maybe you don't give yourself enough credit and you're smarter than you think, even if nobody else believes that you're aware and conscious and you're a sentient being making your own observations about what the creepy adults do in their stupid world. Then you give yourself the credit and pat yourself on the back, or have your bestie hug you and tell your friend that you need some love. Tell your bestie that you really need some support here because you feel like you're not heard. You'll get your support from your friends. Mercury in Sagittarius also on this day is sextile to Cupid in Libra, which is again that solar 8th house. So you might find that there's a temporary truce and it lasts like 4 hours or something temporary such as this. But remember, on your timeline in your life, since these aren't too difficult topics, because yours, again, is just not as complex as it will be for the adults for a lot of reasons. How about this? You guys pay more attention and better attention and have your heads screwed on better than the adult Pisces do right now. And I don't mean that in any form of disrespect. They are just not noticing the patterns. It's like they're, most of them, I should say, are not facing up to what the reality of the thing is. They want to float off in outer space, and you guys are really the only ones paying attention. So on Friday, the card that you've drawn is the Three of Wands, and you can see here that we've got one too many. Now, this could be about a relationship. It could be a family group. It could be your friendships, that there's this new friend in there. She just doesn't seem to blend, or he doesn't seem to flow, and there's something weird about it. Don't worry about it, because this card for you guys is going to speak most clearly about new people, new experiences, and more stabilizing influences coming soon on the future on a ship near you. And also Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Jupiter and Virgo, your 7th house again. This is when we need to concede and make some concerted and real concentrated efforts to try to help things along, even if it means that you don't say what you could say or criticize with the sharp words that only you're good at, and that you need to just let it go, flow as water under the bridge. And also there with Venus entering Scorpio, things will get easier for you, especially as it pertains to the legalities of your custody agreement, who you live with, how that happens, or also with your parents. If they're going through a divorce or a remarriage, you'll see that things will stabilize after a while. You'll also notice that it will become easier for those of you that are getting ready to go away to college, for next year, for the fall-winter session, then for 2016, most likely. Whatever you choose to do, you'll see that it will fall into line, whether you're going very far away or somebody far away is coming to you. There's a foreign connection with that energy. On Saturday, we've got the King of Swords, and so this is a person who is probably male. It could be a very masculine female, but it's probably male. And this is a person who could be very cutting with the words. There isn't a whole lot of substance to what he's saying. So this could be an air sign. So this could be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. This could just be a person who's kind of blowing hot air. Maybe this is like a step parent, a stepmother, stepfather type energy, and that you're like, yeah, whatever. There's really nothing here astrological that supports you. I'm going to pretend I didn't even hear it and I won't react. And that's the way. On Sunday, we've got the Three of Cups in reverse, and this is a card that indicates that obviously we still can't make it work. There's some issue with a falling out. With the adults, they could have things that you will observe, like an engagement is broken off, a marriage is starting to come apart. There could be one too many. Again, there could be people having an affair, and it could be, to me, it would be more likely that it would happen if you've got a Pisces parent and they're married to an air sign individual. Now, don't take this too far. This is just for experimentation. But if you have the Pisces parent and the partner, the boyfriend, girlfriend, the marital partner is an air sign. That's probably where the cheating is going on. And you know what? It doesn't even matter because whatever comes out will come out in its own time. I wouldn't be able to hand draw you a diagram of who's doing what, who's on first, who's cheating on second, and what's going on because the parents won't hear it anyway, especially Pisces having a tendency to avoid the truth. They would rather drink it away, smoke it away, sleep it away, but the universe won't let them, so you don't need to get involved in whatever that problem is. Now, on a much closer to home level, it could be happening that a group of your friends, that you guys are not getting along, that this new person was introduced and it isn't working out. You know, sometimes what you really need is a winter break. Maybe you just need time apart for you guys to organize your thoughts, rethink the things that have been said and not said. So often there's so much more that should be left unsaid, trust me. And that way you can come back at it with a different perspective, because on Sunday we've got Sagittarius sextiling Mars in Libra. Libra again being that 8th house or keeps. There's this association with partnerships, and with you guys it's the friendships and the siblings, because your 7th house will operate a little bit differently because of your age. So there is something going on here that needs to be adjusted, and we really can't do anything about it because, you know, you could have one of those airplanes toting a banner across the sky over the beach, and there's always going to be the one person who still did not understand it, even if it was written in their native language, and somebody stood right next to them on the beach and did American Sign Language to, you got the message? Did you get that? And they're like, what? No. And they just refuse to see it. When people want to bury their heads in the sand, that's exactly what they'll do. And it's not up to you or me to pull their heads out of the sand or their asses. Also, here we've got Mercury and Sagittarius squaring Hygeia and Virgo. Again, that 7th house. So really, if anything of value can be taken out of anything from a breakup of your parents dating or to their marriages or marriages to other people, is that there's a whole lot that you're learning that you will never replicate in your life as an adult. And trust me, there's wisdom when you're a teenager and you're learning about these things by watching people. They don't know what a sponge you are. You're remembering everything you've seen and you don't want to recreate it. And you'll be able to, if you stay clear and present-minded, able to decipher the messages even as you get older. The big news, of course, is Mars in Libra, squaring Pluto in Capricorn. I've told people, here comes Tyson and here comes Holyfield, and, you know, ding, ding, it's time to start. So we've got an issue here where Libra really doesn't like hosting Mars, believe it or not, because Mars wants to argue and be very driven and use muscle and energy and go forward and power through the obstacles. And Libra's like, really, can't we all just get along? Can't we just go shopping for scarves and pretend the world isn't as harsh and cruel as it appears to be? And we're like, wait a second, come back down to earth, Bruno. You know, we can't solve everything buying a couple of scarves over at the dollar store. It isn't like that. So there's a whole lot going on here because Pluto's okay in Capricorn because Capricorn can handle just about anything. But there it is stirring something and making a muck, some problems there with the social groups and or your parents' abilities to understand who your friends are or why you want to be with them. Now, understanding again that you are a minor until you're 18, and then if you don't abide by the rules of the house, you're probably out of there. And my best suggestion is to pick a college, because that's when you're going to really have a sense of freedom and where things can be more or less based on your design. So with that said, keep your head out of other people's business. Your job is just to be aware of what's going on, to stand up for yourself where necessary. Don't get into arguments with anybody, because by this weekend, my dear, they could be nuclear arguments. And you know, all that happens in the end, we really have nothing to show for these kind of dysfunctional arguments other than some random redneckery somewhere and somebody drunk sitting on the curb with a busted skull. You know what I mean? There's really nothing good that comes out of these arguments. So if anybody even asks your opinion on these things and it doesn't pertain directly to something that's part of your consideration, just play stupid, chew bubblegum and say, I haven't figured out how to get my hair to curl the way I want. You think I can understand my parents? You got it.